Hi, folks. Welcome back. So this is a band that I haven't heard before, but I've had quite a lot of requests for this song. Primarily, I guess, because of the Chopin thing. For anybody who's watched my channel before, you've seen me uploading performances of Chopin. And, I'm a piano teacher and Chopin's my favorite composer. That combined with the different types of music that you guys have probably detected that I like, this one has been recommended. So without further ado, wow, right, okay. So I was tempted to pause after the piano introduction. I was kind of anticipating the band would kick in afterwards. I wanted to see whether there was something related musically to the Chopin piece, to what they were going to do, whether it was going to incorporate into the compositional style. There's a very classical nature to the harmony and different things that's going on with the band there. So I can understand why they've chosen maybe to put that piano performance in there. So the actual piano performance itself obviously was really, really good. It's very difficult to study that, because it's primarily to sort of develop the left hand. Chopin's studies, he wrote 24 of them. This is the last one from the first book. You've got Opus 10 and there's 12 in that, and then you've Opus 25 and there are 12 in that. This is number 12, so it's the last one in book one, He composed that around 1830, 1831 in there somewhere, so he would have been about 20 when he made it, or when he wrote it. The title itself, The Revolutionary Etude, it's sort of well documented that Chopin didn't give titles to his pieces. He preferred to give them sort of generic titles, like the form of the piece, like Nocturne in such and such a key, or Mazurka in this key, or Prelude. Names like that, as opposed to like this has like a sort of a nickname, if you like, Revolutionary Etude. But the reason why it's been called that is because the piece is supposed to be reflective. Chopin was Polish, and at the time I think there was like Russian occupation in Warsaw, and he was in Paris at the time, and so it's reckoned that he wrote the piece and the sort of turbulent nature of the piece as sort of yearning for Poland, for his home country that was being invaded. So there's a lot of passion and torture and all sorts of emotions and stuff like that in that piece of music. So just thought I would give you a little bit of background on that, since, it's kind of in my wheelhouse, and I've had different students learn the piece and so on. It's a very difficult piece of music, so, she did a very, very good job in playing it. In terms of her approach, she seemed very drawn to the melody, which was nice to hear, because obviously it's a left-hand study, so primarily all the virtuosity most of the virtuosity is in the left hand. And sometimes you hear interpretations where they're focused on bringing that out, but there is a melody to it. And this is one of the reasons why Chopin studies, a piece of music that has been written for technical reasons to try and help the player level up, if you like, in their technique. Chopin studies are regarded very highly because of their compositional attributes. He's managed to write these incredibly difficult and virtuosic and useful pieces for classical pianists, without them just sounding like exercises. They sound like, fully fledged musical compositions. And at the time, it wasn't very common that composers did that or could do that. There was very little rubato in it, which is good. It works. I think sometimes with Chopin interpretations, people can overdo rubato. For those that don't know, rubato is like time in music. So instead of playing something always to the beat, rubato allows you to speed things up, slow things down, to kind of borrow time, and make it a wee bit more elastic. So you'll hear things going faster, things going slower. And that's one of the sort of traits of romantic music and Chopin's music in particular. She didn't really do that too much. She did a wee bit near the end, but most of it was kind of to the beat, which, it's not normal in terms of like a typical interpretation of it. So it was nice to hear that. She's playing on a Roland digital piano. And the sampled sounds or whatever that are on that are obviously of a very high standard. But when you're playing classical music, it's hard to get the same nuance into your performance if you're not playing on an acoustic piano. So there will be limitations she's had there whenever she's playing that. It's just not as easy to play on a digital piano. Even today's pianos, which are very highly sophisticated with sampling and so on, it's still not the same as if she was playing on an actual grand. So she did a really good job on that, a really, really good playing. As for the actual band themselves, straight in, they're straight out of the park here, really, really high level of playing from everybody. Something I do like there is the sort of the dual aspect of the guitars. It reminds me of Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden, where you've got, instead of one melodic line on its own, you've got that melody being played with two guitars and there are harmonies apart. Just creates a more symphonic kind of, texture to everything, and you can hear the guitars are sort of panned between the ears there, so, and that driving double kick there, the drumming's really impressive. That's a nice key change there. Wasn't expecting that. Would it be right in saying is Dragon Force a bit of an influence in this band? Something within the instrumentation there that it's reminding me of sort of early days Dragon Force, Very clear of the classical influence on this, by the way. The way everything's moving there. It's not the typical sort of rock progressions with pentatonics and blues influence. This is very quite clearly influenced by classical music, which is right up my street. mean, those progressions are the kind of things that, Yngwie Malmsteen has sort of lifted from, Paganini and Bach and the sort of Baroque sort of music. Those sort of chordal progressions is very similar to what you would hear that he has taken classical into like rock kind of genre. Obviously, we've got the singing on top of this, so it takes it more into like a more theatrical kind of realm. But in terms of what's happening musically there, it's reminded me of a little bit of Dragon Force, like we said, and also a bit of Yngwie Malmsteen, which is all coming from like the neoclassical type thing, should we say. Who's playing the piano? I know sometimes bands have like it's usually known as the fifth member or whatever, in this case it'd be more than that. Sometimes the band has somebody off stage or in the background, providing keyboards. Muse has started doing that, which would be the fourth member. Queen was another band that did that sort of in the 80s performances. You'll see when they're playing, there was another guy filling out on guitar and keyboard parts and stuff like that, but the camera never picked him up because, he wasn't the official member. I can hear all these sweeping arpeggios being played, like classical piano arpeggios in the mix, but I can't see where they're coming from. Or is it possibly a backing track that's being used on top of that? I don't know. There's nobody at that piano. Really like that. That was a big throwback to sort of 80s kind of stuff there, Testament maybe. That was cool. Even Megadeth, bit of Megadeth there. Really love the fills, by the way. Do you see how that when they take these little moments between the vocal phrases there, okay, it's kind of typical to get some sort of drum fill. The drum fills are very ornate. It's very unlikely they're improvised. I'm sure they're all worked out to the T. But you can hear that the other instruments are being involved in those little interludes. I've noticed that before in Bandmade was another band that I had done. In fact, I think LOVEBITES was one of the highly requested videos that came out of a couple of Bandmade reactions that I had done. I was talking about compositionally with them that when it came to like spaces, that they were very clever with their use of space and being able to fill it with interesting musical motifs or whatever, and not just letting it go by. So I mean, these girls are on a sort of par with that. It's compositionally very interesting. See the guitars in particular, the melodic bits that they went up to, they were in tune with each other. So it's like almost like a little tiny mini piece within like 3 seconds worth of, it's very classical in nature, brilliant. It's one thing to record this kind of stuff and go in and, have the opportunity to do multiple takes on that sort of tram picking, I know it's not crazy fast, but it's at a speed where, fatigue could set in very easily there. And you can hear, especially on the double kick, the guitar riffs, the fact that they're all playing those kind of things together. There's so many opportunities for if somebody's slightly out of time or God forbid, more than one person's out of time, this could fall apart just like that. It's incredibly tight, their proficiency on the instruments for that to be live, and like those sort of, I guess, are probably semi-quavers or even demi-semi-quavers that they're playing, very fast notes, but the intricacy the whole way through, it's not wavering anywhere. Really impressive. The piano part in that is very similar to like the Ocean Etude, another one of the nicknames. Pretty sure that's the last one in the second book, Opus 25, number 12, where both hands move up and down the piano. Style of sort of up and down. You get, the nickname Ocean has come through the waves. I'm getting reminiscent vibes of that with the piano, the arpeggios rising and falling, that the music sounds like it's in waves, really cool to listen to. But the whole band, not just the piano, the whole thing just has this ebb and flow, Another band, I talked about Muse earlier on. If you listen to the song Stockholm Syndrome, that's a perfect example of hearing those sort of arpeggiated lines on the synthesizer that they use with really, it's a very, very slow, groovy riff that happens in their chorus. Da 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 da. Very low-tuned, heavy guitars, but with these rising and falling arpeggios, that's a class song. Okay, so I must say, that's insane. There's something in the progression in there actually reminded me of Chopin. Was that the Prelude number 20 in C minor, which has been sort of, the harmony from that has been taken by Barry Manilow took it, which then Take That took it because they covered Barry Manilow. Probably been taken other times as well, but the harmony on that song, I actually uploaded performance of that recently, a couple of weeks ago, of that song. I'm pretty sure that some of the chord progressions there underneath that guitar were straight from that Prelude. Anyway, obviously the guitar playing is insane, so I'm going to go back because I want to really focus on her guitar playing this time. But it's just, I wasn't expecting that harmony to come out. And she's playing, is that a Dean guitar she's playing as well? Dean guitar is made famous by Dimebag from Pantera. Is he using Fishman Fluence pickups as well there? They're a pickup brand that I'm not that familiar with, but I've just seen, a lot of sort of modern day players using those. I know Greg Koch uses them. And I think does Tosin Abasi use Fishman's as well? I think they're very, very high output. And again, that guitar, the pick attack and everything like that is being picked up is very, very aggressive in nature, very screaming, I feel like. Insane playing, like brilliant. That was brilliant. So I thought that when the second guitarist came in, that she was going to maybe take the same amount of time over the same progression as the first guitarist there. But no, they had this sort of question and answer thing going on there. I love the way that they integrated the original soloist, if you like. Sorry, I don't know any of the girls' names, apart from Miyako. I'm guessing if it says Miyako piano solo, you know, she's the girl who's on the right of the stage there. Is she the main lead guitarist there? You know, I'm getting the impression that she's the main lead guitarist in the band. But I like the fact that in the space of the second guitar solo, you got the sort of mimicking of the phrases, you know, again, very classical in nature, you know, question and answer, you call that. And then into this insane tapping stuff. Brilliant. I don't know. I didn't see what the second guitarist was doing there at that point, but it didn't sound like a guitar to me. It sounded kind of like a synthesizer / organ kind of sound there that was doubling up on what the tapping was doing. Again, it could be possibly something that's being played through as like a backing track. Answer. Lovely. It's hard to tell, you know. I can hear that the main lead guitar is predominantly in the right channel. There's something faint in the left. I guess it could be the second guitarist maybe doing the same tapping thing there. But I'm hearing that it almost sounds like a synthesizer to me. Brilliant drumming. You can see there, you know, it's quite clearly that there are backing tracks going on there, because you can hear like the operatic thing going on, and obviously nobody's singing at this point. But I'm liking the way that they've got that sort of chant that's very Iron Maiden in it. I don't know, were those the guys that sort of invented that, you know, the whoa, whoa, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, it really reminds me of Iron Maiden. Listen to some of their live performances. You know, I mean, it's on the records. You hear those kind of refrains that have been put there, I guess, have been put there intentionally so that whenever they're playing to big crowds, that, you know, everybody can, you don't need to know words. You can just, whoa, you can sing the melody. But I like that they've got the audience participation in this, but there's also a second guitar solo going on there at the same time. Is it going to end in major? Yes. Picardy third. That's what you call that. Whenever you get a piece of music where it's being predominantly in the minor, and then you get to the last bar and the third, you know, in the chords, you've taught the tonic triad. Here we're going to get a bit of geeky here, but the tonic note, the root note, the third and the fifth in the scale. When you put those together, the third in a minor is flattened. Is up a semitone, you go up one, and you get the major sound. Famous one again, Chopin. Listen to his Nocturne C sharp minor, Opus Posthumous. The whole thing's in C sharp minor, and when you get to the last bar, it goes into C sharp major. It's called the Tears to Picardy. I could see it coming. That's another very classical thing. So it's a nice thing we get the sort of arc completed there, starting off with the solo piano, ending with the solo piano. I was talking about backing tracks and different things. Obviously, it's clear that, she has recorded the piano, that we didn't, we could hear it during the song, but there was, it had to be a backing track. And then whenever she jumped onto the piano there to play that outro section, you could hear the second guitar, the guitar part that she was actually playing earlier on was still there. So they've used that. So that once that she has went onto the piano, that rather than the guitar being left on its own with the single player there, we've heard that. So they've got that recorded in there. So, it's quite common practice now with a lot of bands to use. It's something some people think of backing tracks as being like a dirty word. It's like, oh, you're using backing tracks. I don't have a problem with it. It's quite clear that everything's live, they're playing everything. So having like an extra harmony in there, bit of extra vocals or whatever, what's the problem? They still have to be incredibly tight to play with a click track so that all that stuff lines up, So just thought I would mention, that's what I'm hearing, at least on a first time listen. Really good playing there as well. There's an understatement, but it was nice the way that thing came to an end. I didn't think the song was going to end with the band being pulled out, and then you're left with the arpeggios on the piano. Nice chords. So it ends on the sus chord. Suspended, resolved to the major. Lovely. Exceptional level of talent. Not just, obviously, it's obvious that, from the classical piano and also, the standard of guitar playing, and, it would be easy for somebody like that to overshadow everybody else in the band, because she's amazing. But as far as I'm concerned, the entire band is incredible, in particular the drummer. The drummer really impressed me there. But I enjoyed the whole thing. So anyway, thanks for this request. It was right up my street, blending the classical thing with metal. Love that. So yeah, if there's any more you want me to do, stick it below, and don't forget to check out some of the other ones I've done so far, and even you might want to check out some of the performances I've done. Have a dig around there in the channel. You might find something else you like. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.